Greetings, travelers.
Greetings, travelers. Oh my goodness.
Yes, it is. It is going into busy, spooky season here.
Oh my
We're-
gosh. Yeah, this has been one heck of a month, and it's continuing to just wow. I mean, it's been a year, right? I mean, we're at the halfway point, and we're not stopping. There's just so much that we've been through already this year in episodes and subjects, and it's just getting crazier.
It is. It is. And so we're past the halfway marker. This is our last episode of Jinkies July.
Jinkies July, and I missed an anniversary.
Oh, you did? What did you miss?
Well, we're actually recording this on the anniversary, but it's not going to air till after. So but that's a little behind the scenes magic here for you folks. We've got a few events coming up, so we're recording ahead so that we don't miss anything. But this is recording on July 19th, which is an anniversary of an event from July 19th of 1952. So we'll get back in the Wayback Machine in a minute. But first,
oh wow,
I just want to say what this is airing on the 29th, you said?
30th.
The 30th. Okay, so July 30th. So we are going right into August after this one. But we have so much coming up in August. We've got Squonkapalooza. We've got Tampa Bay Comic-Con. You're going to be at Indie PopCon, right?
Yes. No, it's Louisville PopCon.
Louisville PopCon.
That we have Dragon Con. We have August. I can go down the list because we have we just got back from Smoky Mountain Bigfoot. We're going to Squonkapalooza, Tampa Bay Comic-Con, Dragon Con, the Flatwoods Festival, Mothman Festival, Smoky Mountain Terror Cryptid Con, Spookala, Scarefest, Carolina Horror Fest, Flying Saucer Con, North Carolina Bigfoot Adventure, North Carolina Bigfoot Conference, and Cryptid Con.
Now, the North Carolina Bigfoot Adventure we are just announcing, which is pretty epic for those that want to do a night in Bigfoot country, right? We our friend RPG, he's been out there a couple times hosting events, and they actually go on Bigfoot hunts on this property in Western North Carolina. It's not too far from us, and they're having us out post Halloween to do an event where we are going to go out and we're going to tell some ghost stories, right?
Yes. I think it's November 15th.
November 9th.
November 9th. Yes. Sorry, November 9th and 10th. And we'll include the link in the show notes so you guys can go sign up and come hang out with the Erie Travels crew in person.
Yep. In the Smoky Mountains in a nice, cool autumn night. It is a paid event, but you will also be there with some we're going to bring some other people. We haven't had a chance to work it all out yet, but it should be pretty epic. So we would love for y'all to come. The link will be in the show notes, and oh my gosh, it's just getting announced. So
just for the record, travelers who are listening and who frequently listen to this show, I will actually be glamping. So that's happening.
Yep, getting Erika to not nope out is the 90% of this.
Right? Yes, so I need travelers to come be entertaining and talk and stuff like that because this is wilderness and we're gonna see how this goes.
Prime Bigfoot spot. So who knows what's gonna happen, but we're going to be talking other holler monsters, but we're also going to be talking Squatch. So we're excited, and we hope you are too, and we hope a lot of you will join us. So
yes. But what are we talking about today?
Okay. We're going to go back in the Wayback Machine to just before July 19th, 1952, right around 11:30 p.m. on July 18th, as it's ticking over to July 19th. Time travel's weird, but we're doing this. That's what the Wayback Machine is for, right?
Yeah.
All right. So There is now what we now know as Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. Back then was just Washington National Airport, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And just before midnight, air traffic controller up there spots 7 unidentified flying objects in the sky southwest of the nation's capital.
Okay.
All right. So this controller, his name's Ed Nugent. Not any relation to Ted Nugent, I think. But he asked the colleagues, double check. Am I seeing this right? Because this is weird. And they all confirmed that the equipment is working properly.
Okay.
And now what they see is not a typical flight pattern, right? They see some strange things going on. So they notice they're heading for the White House, which was then occupied by Harry S. Truman, right?
Oh, wow.
And they might even be heading toward the Capitol building. So what do?
I would think they scramble things to protect the Capitol.
Exactly. So the Newcastle Air Force Base in Delaware, it's pre-dawn. They scramble a bunch of jets, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and they fly out. But as soon as the jets take to the air, the UFOs disappear off the radar.
What?
And then the jets notice that they just basically lose sight of them.
Oh, wow.
So lack of fuel, after searching for a little while, the jets are forced to return back to Delaware.
Oh, wow.
And as soon as they start heading back, radar pings again. The UFOs are back.
Oh my gosh. I could imagine being in the control room of these things.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, you got to tell me, sir, because my immediate thing is to send the planes to go look and get an eyesight visual on what they're seeing.
They're like, get back here. But what happens is that's the air traffic controllers are now wondering, okay, these craft are able to understand our radio traffic.
Oh yeah.
Because they're hearing us. They're able to intercept this, and they know we're coming to intercept them. So as dawn approaches, objects no longer visible on radar and no longer visible by naked eye.
Oh wow.
So, all right. Now, this is 1952. Remember, everybody's like, oh, I won't believe in UFOs till they land on the White House lawn. Well, they didn't land on it, but they flew over it. And people witnessed this, right?
Okay. What was it? What did they say it looked like?
Okay. They said they looked like classic flying saucers. So we're going to go back a little bit further back, right? We're going to go back to 1947 just for a quick little jaunt, right?
Well, now I have to change my clothes again in the way back machine.
All right, well, we're coming right back to 1952 because we got to go a week later. But real quick, just in 1947, while flying his small plane, basically pilot Ken Arnold, right, sees 9 objects moving at high speed over Washington State's Mount Rainier.
Oh wow. Okay.
And it's basically very publicized. And he's the one who said they looked like they were skipping over the water like saucers, like flying saucers.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the term flying saucer comes from. Right?
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I always assumed it was because they kind of look like plates, like a saucer.
That's what everybody thinks, and that's what it kind of became.
Yeah.
But he called them mysterious objects, and they were more like orbs to him.
Oh wow.
And they were flying in a V formation. And according to him, they had to be doing about 1,700 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
1947. So, and his quote was, basically the movement of the 9 ships was a saucer if you skip it across the water. And that became the term flying saucer.
Wow, I didn't like. Okay, I just learned something. I don't know about you travelers. I don't know how many travelers don't know that a small plate, is called a saucer, right?
Yeah, exactly. But back then it was a bit more common.
It was. I'm just so that anybody who's younger than us.
So
Okay.
1950. So right after that, the Air Force decides to investigate these because we start seeing more and more of them. Plus, they had all those World War II sightings of what they called the Foo Fighters, right? The weird lights in the sky, and all that. So we think they were actually researching it before them, but they didn't. So in 1948, the U.S. Air Force opens a thing called Operation Sign, which is basically to investigate the theories that this was actually Soviet craft, right? Okay. That was maybe something, because it's the Cold War right now already. And we thought, some people said, well, maybe it's something else. And Air Force was like, nah, it's the Ruskies. But
obviously, what's so funny in this time period is I'm not saying there wasn't a lot that was Russians in the Cold War and all that stuff, but I feel like that was like the default thing to do is go, it's the Russians.
It's the Russians. Yeah.
That's funny.
Today it's the Chinese, but it's the same thing. But all right, so the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly.
So by Project Sign goes for about 3 years, and then it really is peaking right around 1951. And so they start a new project to research it, and that becomes our favorite Project Blue Book. Right?
Why was it called Blue Book? Because now I need to know the names of everything.
Okay. The government names are goofy, right? They sometimes get their names from the name of the guy who's running it. Sometimes they get their names because of the plane code word they're using and stuff like that. Project Blue Book got its name because it was a blue book that they were putting their notes into. It was the lead guy who the CIA agent who was kind of hired to do this.
Oh wow!
All right, so that's where it gets its name. We think it's not official, but that's just Air Force gives their names. As the government gives its names to all kinds of crazy things like that. So
yeah.
All right, so now 1952. This incident on the radar at Washington, D.C., right? It's right after the founding of Project Blue Book. So they're obviously going to be the guys to research this, right?
I would think so, yeah.
All right. So, well, they aren't, because this is still the craziness that's that we don't know. So the Daily News, New York's newspaper, comes out with the great headline that day, which is the Jet Chase DC Sky Ghosts.
Sky Ghost.
Sky Ghosts. I think I like that term better than UFO, right? So
I think that needs to be my new favorite term. What is that? It's not a UAP. It's not a UFO. It is a sky ghost.
Sky ghost.
Yes. Oh my God. We need to. Okay. I'm just throwing this out there, Adulting Axolotl. We anticipate some sort of sky ghost cross stitch to come. I want a sky ghost cross stitch immediately. Okay.
Okay. So now we're going back to the 1950s, 8 p.m. It's a week after. So it's July 26th. And a pilot and a flight attendant on a plane bound for Washington Airport again in D.C. Notice something unusual from above their aircraft. Okay. They say strange lights in the sky.
Okay.
The air traffic controllers see numerous unidentifiable objects on the radar. Planes are scrambled again from Delaware.
Wow.
Now, this time, one of the fighter pilots sees the strange lights, and he attempts to chase them. But they speed away at an incredible speed. His plane cannot even get close.
Wow.
And he ends his pursuit. So, 2 weekends, 2 consecutive weekends.
Okay.
So now President Truman goes to Project Blue Book and says, what the hell? Right over DC.
Yeah. Like,
is this
you need
a
to
national
do something
security
about
threat?
this? Yeah.
Is this the Red Scare? Right?
Yeah.
Any data coming? Give me something, right? Give me something so I can report on these UFOs. So July 29th, 3 days later, the Air Force holds a press conference at the Pentagon and explains the phenomena to the public.
Okay.
The UFOs zipping through the skies that have reached a fever pitch. They are just all over the place and all this. There's going to be mass hysteria. So Air Force Major General John Samford told the gathered reporters that the air traffic controller and fighter pilots saw meteors, stars, and other optical illusions that were just radar anomalies, and they could be explained by a simple temperature inversion over the city, making this all just a weather-related event.
Okay.
It's weather.
It's a weather balloon, or not? They didn't say balloon.
No, weather phenomena.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
Jeez.
Okay.
So
now, Project Blue Book itself is being run by a Captain Edward Ruppelt.
Okay.
And he was not consulted before the press conference.
Oh.
And Alan Hynek, who we know, the Hynek Report, he joins around this time, and he was not consulted. So they publicly denounced the Air Force's explanation. Temperature inversions were already well-documented radar anomalies.
Yeah. No,
and
absolutely.
What happened in DC was not related to the things that can make that happen. Now, what happened with Project Blue Book, right?
Yeah.
Is that they, it was, everybody's like, so is it a cover-up, right? Is this a cover-up? Project Blue Book's job was to prove that there was no simple, there was no threat to the United States, right? There was no threat to security. So that was the primary function of Project Blue Book. So they still said there was no real threat here. So that's all they used from the Project Blue Book report, that there was no threat.
Okay.
So, all right. Now we've got radar detections corroborated by visual sightings from both pilots and ground observers who reported seeing the strange lights, doing strange maneuvers. And we've got, one of my favorite quotes from one of the observers was, it was like falling stars without tails, and they would change direction.
Oh, wow.
So, pretty crazy, right?
No, this is nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah. So now natural phenomena. I love it. Stars and meteors, radar blips. It's just meteorological conditions, right? So now this today remains one of the most compelling sightings for enthusiasts, right? This is crazy. This is everything everybody says, oh, we want this proof, right? And well, here it is. It happened. It did. The only thing they didn't do was land. It did everything else that we want in a dream project. So, all right. So, Project Blue Book goes on to investigate many, many more cases. All right. And they will go for 17 more years after this. And it's pretty epic, some of the stuff that they investigate. And they even go back and forth investigating older projects and stuff like older events. They even go back and talk to the people at Flatwoods and stuff like that. So now this story has hit every. It is all over the world, and what is it? Is it Captain Casey of the Capital Airlines Flight 807 was the one who said, "In my years of flying, I've seen a lot of falling or shooting stars, but these were much, much faster. They couldn't have been aircraft. They were just moving way too fast for that."
Okay.
Now, so all the multiple sightings, right? One of the this is from the Daily Lake, the Daily Interlake from Montana. It's one of the newspapers that wasn't redacted. So they have an interview with one of the witnesses who says it looked like a sphere so deeply orange colored that it appeared almost the shade of rust. It was as silent as death, and it was moving too fast to possibly be a balloon.
Wow.
So the rumor at the time was that Boeing was possibly making secret aircraft in Seattle.
Okay.
So there were a lot of flying saucer sightings in Seattle at this exact same point in time.
Interesting.
And so then there's some sightings in other places. So it becomes this rumor that we're making them and that we've built them all over the place and we're testing them to see what happens. And there's an even weirder category of rumors that, you know, the Russian built planes that we've captured and we're testing them ourselves. Again, it's the Ruskies, and the Air Force has been able to peek, to figure them out and all this. So, all right. So this is the tip of an iceberg that starts going downhill very, very, very quickly. We have reports from all over. So when we go into our second half, I'm going to read a bunch of the 1952 UFO things. So now Ruppelt, we talked to him, right? The lead investigator. And like I said, from Project Blue Book, he was like, nobody talked to me about this report, right? And so he was trying to get to the National Airport to interview operators and air traffic controllers, but he was denied a government issued car or cab fare to do any investigation. So he had to go back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base without anything.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now the pilot from that one incident, right? The one who chased it said, I tried to make contact with the bogies when they dropped below 1,000 feet. I saw several bright lights. I was at maximum speed, but even then I had no closing speed. I ceased chasing them because I saw no chance of overtaking them.
Oh, wow.
They told him it was Venus. He was chasing Venus.
And Venus was a name. Okay, sorry.
So, yeah, that temperature inversion theory. Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
That even the radar operator's like, no, that's not what it was. We know what those are. We know all this stuff. Okay, but so the Air Force report did work.
Okay.
as they wanted it to work. Because what happened was they were getting 50 reports a day of UFO sightings. After that, it dropped to 10 a day. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Why do we think it dropped? Do we think it dropped because they basically said you're all dumb?
That's exactly. If these pilots and radar people are confused by a simple weather phenomenon, well, if I call that in, I'm probably just going to sound like an idiot because it's just weather phenomena. So that's what happens. So the Washington UFO Flap. Now this is our boy Nick Pope, right, from our Ancient Aliens buddy. He was former British minister of. Well, he wasn't a minister, but he was worked for the Ministry of Defense.
Yeah.
He's the go-to UFO guy for England. Now his quote was, "The Washington UFO Flap perfectly illustrates the real government cover-up." He says, "It's not a situation where the authorities conspired to keep some terrible truth about UFOs from the people, but rather the government doing its best to keep people from realizing that they didn't have all the answers." I love that quote.
Yeah. No, that is a very good quote.
Yeah, and it's because the investigators didn't know what they were talking about, right?
Yeah.
They really had no idea what's going on. And it started way back in April of 1952. And that we'll go into that in a minute, because it actually kind of started before then. But those 2 nights of craziness, it's just it's pointless. It's fruitless to the Air Force's description of this, right?
Yeah, no, totally.
And
it's interesting to me about all of this, when we talk UFOs, because it's having done this now with you for a year. Not that I never talked UFOs before that, but I never talked about it obviously on a podcast or something. But one of the things that I find really fascinating, right, is I don't feel like there's a quote unquote government cover up of Bigfoot. Like, weird shit happens, but I don't feel like anybody comes out and goes, yes, well, the Park Service is testing a new bear deterrent. They don't come out and try to say something else. But when you're talking about UFOs, there is such a mass of like, hey, we need to protect everybody from themselves. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And that's, so we get a little bit later, we get the CIA and a few other people, and Howard P. Robertson, a physicist. He chairs a panel in January of 1953 called the Robertson Panel.
Okay.
And this is where they're digging into Project Blue Book, right? This is going to be the first government open thing about Project Blue Book. Project Blue Book's been barely open a year at this point. And because of all these accounts in 1952, which we'll get into after the break here, but the groups basically felt that the U.S. has been flooded with these reports, and we're getting this mass panic, and it's going to let the Russians launch a sneak attack on us because we're going to think it's a UFO.
Oh.
So there's a memo from the CIA director, Walter B. Smith, which is the Office of Scientific Intelligence, OSI. And this is from September 24th, 1952. It's pretty redacted, but the memo states basically the flying saucer situation has national security implications. In the public concern with the phenomena lies the potential for touching off mass hysteria and panic. The result of this memorandum becomes the Robertson panel. And now this panel, they spend 4 days analyzing the best, quote, quote, best UFO cases collected by Project Blue Book. And that was Professor Hynek, and Rupert, they hand their best stuff to him, and the panel dismisses everything they say, saying nothing unusual or threatening to national security. And in the panel's decision at that point, the Air Force and Project Blue Book needs to spend less time analyzing and studying UFO reports and must spend more time publicly debunking them.
Whoa.
So the panel recommended that they should, quote, strip the unidentified flying objects of the special status they have been given and the aura of mystery that they have unfortunately acquired. And they would basically, Project Blue Book would never publicize any UFO case that it had not labeled as solved after this.
Yikes.
Unsolved cases just go into a file.
Wow.
Which is referred to as the X file.
Oh, I love that. I love that. We need to take a break, but now that makes me so happy. Okay. Yes. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back after these messages. And we're back.
We're back. You like that?
Yes, I do. If that wasn't licensed music, I would have hoped Bo would have this, but it's licensed.
I love that Destiny kind of mirrored the X-Files for when she composed our theme. So
that's true. We're pretty close. So now we're in the X-Files.
Okay, so all right, now we discussed that. So all right, let's go talk about some of the newspaper headlines. I'm going to read a few of them here from 1952.
Okay.
All right. So we discussed the one of the main major event, right?
Yeah.
Here's another one. This is from the Cedar Rapids Gazette in Iowa. They're talking about the second UFO encounter from that, which is here's the excerpt from that. Saucers swarm over Capitol. Radar showed that the air over the nation's capital was full of flying objects early Tuesday, but an airliner directed to one of the radar sightings could not find a thing. A CAA, Civilian Aeronautics Administration spokesman, said the latest sightings showed as many as 12 unidentified objects on the radar screen at one time. The sightings today were a third within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Okay. Scranton Tribune from Pennsylvania. The Air Force today, theirs is AF orders anti-saucer alert. The Air Force disclosed today that the jet fighters are under orders to maintain a nationwide 24-hour alert against flying saucers and to shoot them down if at all possible.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Yeah.
So 1931, this is from Montana. The Daily Inner Lake, and this time it's hard to brush off those mysterious saucers is the title, and that is the article where it says most persistent rumor is that Boeing airplane in Seattle, Washington is either making flying saucers or has been in charge of the engineering of the project. Rumor goes that very small parts of the saucers are being made widely scattered subcontractors, and that the finished items are being assembled at remote sites and tested across the United States. The weirder category of the rumors is that the saucers are either Russian-built or from another planet, and that several of them have crashed and been picked up by the Air Force. It goes on to theorize that the Air Force has been able to repair some of them and make them operate at the same time, just like their own. What? That goes back to Roswell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is from the Daily Independent in San Rafael, California. This is July 29th, 1952. Flying saucer epidemic hits a new peak. Reports of saucers have kept police, Air Force, and Weather Bureau telephones jangling for several days recently in widely scattered localities. At Key West, Florida, the Navy said it was investigating accounts by several sailors who said they saw a saucer while attending an outdoor movie. Near Cleveland, Ohio, 3 observers of Operation Skywatch reported spotting floating lights, which rapidly changed color and dodged in and out of the clouds, finally vanishing in the south.
Wow.
So now, of course, me, Mr. Erie, Florida, I had to look that sighting up. And yeah, they were at a drive-in. And they saw a flying saucer. So, I love it. So, okay. Now we're July 30th, 1952, and this is from the Akron Beacon Journal.
Okay.
Saucers Tempest in a Teacup. I love the title. That's the headline for this. I wouldn't doubt that the things are coming from Russia, declared Mrs. V.D. Mason of 1488 Massillon Road. Mrs. Floyd Wetzel of 901 Sater Street said, I think the government knows what's behind all of it and isn't revealing it.
Okay.
I love these are just interviews with random people. This is, I think they may be coming from another planet if they are anything, asserted Al Rose of 74 Eastgate Drive. But even so, he added, I'm not worried. I'm from England. I saw the bombs falling there in World War II. This ain't nothing compared to that. All right. Okay. So now Salt Lake City, Utah, July 23rd, 1952. Russian embassy says discs are a big mystery. What?
What?
So the Soviet embassy Tuesday denied any connection with the flying saucers seen in this area. And I was talking about Utah. Vladimir L. Lomonosov, attaché to the embassy, was asked by a reporter if the strange objects seen in the sky were of Soviet origin. He first said, I don't know. And then added firmly, no, they are not ours. All right.
Sorry.
That was my Russian there. Sorry.
That was I'm going to pretend I didn't even hear that Russian. So
if I'm really going to do Russian, I'll do Sean Connery because after Hunt for Red October, it's Sean Connery is Russian.
Oh, no, that's true. This is so true.
Yeah. Things in here do not react well to bullets. All right. There you go, gang. That's it. That's what you get. All right. So, are you enjoying these articles?
I am. It's so bizarre. It's crazy to me.
Okay, this is all. Just think about this. This is just July. I've got pages of these. All right. So here's July 30th. This is from the Standard Sentinel, Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Radar spots more flying Watsits over Washington.
Like flying what?
Watsits, Whatzits.
Okay.
Can we call them that? It's Skyghosts. I think Watsits is pretty fun.
Oh my God.
All right, here's the expert. It was the third time in 10 days that the radar, an electronic device which tracks only physical objects, not imagination. I love the newspaper put that little comment in. Picked up signs of something of unknown packing through the pre-dawn black skies. And the Air Force threw lots of cold water on any chilling speculation about the men or missiles from Mars or enemy nations.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
This is from the Paris, Texas newspaper, the Paris News. Air Force says saucers freaks. The Air Force says it is still checking into flying saucer reports, but it's certain of one thing. The saucers, whatever they are, don't seem to be a menace to the United States. Most of the sightings to date have been turned out to simply be natural phenomena. All right, I'm going to do one more.
Okay.
And this is from our wonderful place, Rhinelander, home of the Hodag.
Oh, Rhinelander.
That's why I put this one in here. This is from the Rhinelander Daily News. This is from July 30th, 1952. Saucers, if any, this is a poorly written headline. Sorry, Rhinelander News. Saucers, if any, pose no threat to U.S. Air Force says weather may be to blame? Question mark. The bulk of here's the excerpt. The bulk of these, after cross-checking, have been reasonably well identified as the product of friendly aircraft, out-and-out hoaxes, or electrical or meteorological phenomena. The two generals added that the hot weather of recent weeks might be related to the current outbreak of saucer reports. They said a temperature inversion, which is a layer of warm air over cool air, sometimes may be sufficient to deflect radar waves and cause false reports.
Okay.
So, crazy, right? Just crazy. There are literally dozens and dozens of reports of all that time. And I love some of the people like, inversions. They know what they look like. This is not an inversion.
Yeah.
Some of this other stuff it's just, the Robertson panel does what it's supposed to do, right? It stops people panicking about UFOs, which was coming to a head. Now, I'm going to bring up a good, one of the lead experts on this.
Okay.
His man was named Donald Kehoe.
Okay.
And he was a Marine Navy aviator. And he wrote tons of articles on air flights and airplanes and stuff like that. He was even the tour manager of Charles Lindbergh.
Oh,
so back in the 40s. Now in the 50s, he becomes a UFO researcher and a writer, and he's saying we need to release all the files. He becomes the first guy saying you can't just keep doing this under these secret organizations, right?
Yeah.
Now he had written pulp stories, right? I love my pulps, right?
Yeah, I know you do. You
Weird
really
Tales was my jam. And now in the 1920s and 1930s, he actually wrote a bunch of short stories for those. In fact, one of my prized collections is a Weird Tales from 1925, where his story Grim Passenger is in it. And man, now he also wrote some air adventure stories, which are like men's adventures, basically superheroes, right?
Okay.
Before comic books. And he had a guy named Captain Philip Strange, and what was it? The Phantom Ace of G2. That was it. And he was basically a World War I intelligence officer with ESP and other mental powers. So he was known for writing science fiction, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
But as interest is blowing up in these UFOs, of course, you're a nerd, you're into sci-fi, and you've got a military background, you're going to start digging into this stuff, right? You want to know this stuff. So he actually reported some fast-moving objects during that the Arnold report, 1947.
Okay.
The saucers. So Kehoe starts to begin to follow the stories, right? He's like, oh wait, there's something to this. And at first he's a skeptic. He's like, this has got to be some government program we're not supposed to know about. I've worked on some of these programs that we're not supposed to know about and stuff like that. But in spring of 1949, the Air Force starts saying saucers don't exist, all this stuff. And Kehoe starts contacting his friends and people, because the writer of Weird Tales says, hey, I'm getting some weird reports of this stuff. I think there's more to this than just fake stuff. And then one of the magazines that he was writing for is called True, which was they actually had started writing on it. So they asked him, these two magazine writers at the same time asked him, can you tell us, is there more to this? So he really starts digging in and starts diving into this stuff. He is the investigative journalist we all needed at the right time. The problem is the government's suppressing everything he does.
Okay.
Right? So now he's looking into it and he's like, their forms, their flight maneuvers, their speeds, their technology is ahead of anything anybody's got. So that's when he starts going immediately, well, if they're ahead of everything, if you eliminate all the possible, only the impossible is left. So he's like, the US government is hiding the truth. Aliens are among us. Right? This is the only possible thing. They've got to be from another planet. So when he starts talking to more and more government officials, he's told there's nothing to see. There's no documents. Don't know what you're talking about. Go away.
Wow.
So he decides, okay, well, if I'm not getting any documents, now remember, this is before Freedom of Information Act. This is before any of that stuff. So he decides to start investigating people personally. And remember, this is the days of phone books where everybody's number and address is readily available. I mean, read some of those newspaper articles I just had where it says this person from this address said this. Can you imagine that in a newspaper?
Mark Muncy from 123 Main Street, whose phone number is 123-456-789, said.
Yep. So he starts discovering that as he's talking to these people, that there are 3 letters found on pretty much every major site, every major person he talks to, and those 3 letters are CIA.
Oh.
Yeah. So he talks to a guy named J.S. Ehrman, who was executive officer, and basically he's not happy with the responses this guy gives him. So Kehoe writes an article in 1950, January, saying flying saucers are real, though they are hard to identify. There's something out there. And it becomes one of the most widely read articles ever.
Oh, wow.
At that point. So
yeah.
Now, so he makes a book after that, 1950, called Flying Saucers Are Real, and it sells almost 1 million copies in its first year. And he argues in that book that the flying saucer, the Air Force knows that they're alien and is downplaying it to avoid public panic. And he mentions that their interest in us exploded in 1947 after the bomb in 1945, right? Us discovering a bomb is why they suddenly started coming more and more often.
I never even thought about that, but
Yeah, I love the old theory that the aliens used to fly by us with their windows rolled up, and then as we started dropping bombs, they got to be like, "Oh man, that is the most ghetto crap. I don't want anything to do with that planet."
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh that hard, but it's kind of funny to me.
It's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, he wrote a few more books over the years, Flying Saucers from Outer Space and a few others. But he wrote one in 1955 that is called The Flying Saucer Conspiracy.
Okay.
And it basically flat out accuses the U.S. of government cover-up, right? And he says that there's a secret group that is hiding all of this.
Oh.
And he basically shifts from investigating UFOs to investigating the government to find out who's hiding all this, right?
Okay.
And so the next 2 decades, basically, he writes stuff about the conspiracies. And he goes into tinfoil hat territory, right? He's talking about that there's an orbiting space base or a moon base that might cause a public panic. he starts bringing in the Bermuda Triangle disappearances and those unusual optical images on the moon. He starts digging into those. And so anyway, MUFON is around by this point, right?
Okay.
He decides to form his own. And he and another person found one called the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, or NICAP. And he opens this in 1956.
Okay.
And he gets a few scientific figures into the board of directors on this. So MUFON doesn't really have that. So NICAP becomes very popular, becomes like the dominant force early on. And they publish a newsletter called the UFO Investigator.
Okay.
And it was supposed to be basically a monthly basis, but it kind of comes out not so monthly. In 1958 there were only 4 issues, 1959 only 2 issues. So the other founder was a guy named Thomas Brown, and he got basically ousted from this because he was basically the money guy and Kehoe was the science face, and the money guy was apparently not a good money guy. And so Kehoe, even though he remains its head, he's just it kind of dies off faster than anything. So but they were getting they had about 15,000 members and had a lot of great stuff. Now Kehoe's been on a bunch of TV shows and he did a lot of good things. And in 1973 he wrote his last book called Aliens from Space. And it promoted this plan that had been secreted in the government called Operation Lure. And it was basically an operation to lure extraterrestrials to land on Earth so that we could capture them.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
So now he spoke at a bunch of UFO conferences and all that. And in 1981, he actually joins MUFON.
Oh.
As one of their board of directors, but he was not very well at this point in his life. And so it was basically just in name only that he was with MUFON. He winds up dying in 1988 at the age of 91. And most of his books are in the public domain.
Okay.
Because he wanted them to be in the public domain. He was tired of hitting all these redacted reports and all these blacked out things, and where he was having to dig and dig and dig and dig. It's crazy. So, but he's one of those people from history that I don't think gets the credit, right?
Yeah. Well, I think, the taking on any sort of, and okay, let me say this differently. I don't think somebody has to take on the government. One of my things is that there are some things that are obviously not ideal about the government. Is not all bad. Like we started you know what I mean? And but it's so interesting around this phenomenon of UFOs and things like that, and what's happening and where are we at and all of that. And I look at it and I go, I think it's amazing, especially back then, because, a lot of people forget that with the advent of the internet really booming, right? And allowing people to connect globally so that you have supporters, you can share information easily. We're talking about a time when you had to publish things and hope that you didn't get shut down. I mean, back then there were a lot of people talking about the quote unquote men in black that showed up at their house, whether it was what we know is men in black or if it was, government people showing up going, you don't see anything, stop talking about this. He definitely approached it at a time when it was very dangerous to approach it.
Right. Because again, you had the government men, you had men in black basically telling you shut up and all this. So one last thing on all this. So Project Blue Book, right? We're back to them.
Yes.
They basically worked for 17 years and investigated over 12,000 cases. 12,618, I think, is the official number.
Wow.
That's the number of reports that they came up with. And basically, just like the Robinson panel way back, Blue Book would basically classify more than 90% of these as, quote, identified, meaning that they were caused by known atmospheric condition, man-made phenomena, something like that.
Okay.
The remaining 700 incidents remained unidentified. And basically, insufficient information, so we can't say what they are. All right. So 1966, the Air Force requested formation of another committee. And they grabbed 59 random reports of those unidentified ones.
Okay.
And this was headed by Dr. Edward Condon. And he was based out of the University of Colorado. And he releases a scientific study of unidentified flying objects, now known as the Condon Report, in 1968. And according to that report, the sightings they examined show no evidence of any unusual activity, and we recommend that the Air Force stop investigations into UFO-related events. And so 1969, basically the Condon Report, and UFOs are trickling now. They're not getting 10 reports a day. They're getting 1s and 2s and all that. So they decided, since basically nothing is a threat and pretty much everything was not, is not a threat, we're dropping it. And that was when they closed Project Blue Book. So now Alan Hynek, which we will have to get into in another episode, he was the scientific advisor to Project Blue Book.
Okay.
He decides to continue on despite the lack of government funding and all that. And he becomes the advisor to the Center for UFO Studies, yet another group that studies UFOs and aliens and stuff. And so he starts forming that, and then he goes on to run that for a long time. He actually becomes an advisor on this film called Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Well, and if people haven't seen that, because some of our travelers, I mean, that movie was from the 80s, right?
Right.
We'll throw a link in the podcast notes, because, Close Encounters of the Third Kind was revolutionary at that time. Again, pre-internet, pre-this, it was, but that's fascinating. I didn't know he was part of that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Hynek, he was a friend of Spielberg's. Spielberg invited him on because Spielberg was such a fan of Hynek's work. And anyway, so travelers for this, my recommended travel for this
is to Roswell, New Mexico. No, just kidding.
Roswell embraces it. I would say go to the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and go to their Air and Space Museum and look at their Project Blue Book display, but they closed it last year.
Didn't they close it right around when the congressional hearings and stuff were taking place?
They closed it right at the start of that.
You gotta. Wow.
So I would recommend you can go to the Flatwoods Museum, or you can go to the Mothman Museum. They both carry some of Donald Kehoe's books, and which is fascinating stuff to read. I highly recommend the one called Shoot Them Down, which is all about the UFO flaps of 1952.
Wow. So we'll include some links, right, to where they can find these. We'll include
we'll include some links and all that. But that's the one. If you're gonna just sit and read a fun book, that's the one. So
wow, that is kind of amazing. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean it's everything you want. And if that had happened today, can you imagine? UFOs buzzing the White House. That wouldn't. I mean, if the minute that news went out, reporters would be all over it, and everybody be out with their cell phones looking at those lights.
Yeah,
and it happened. 1952, gang. Look it up.
So crazy. So crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a crazy incident. So there we go.
Well, Mark, first of all, I love going back to the 50s because I love my outfits as I come out of the Wayback Machine. It makes me very happy. I love the dresses.
And your hair.
And my hair. My hair looks absolutely and the red lipstick. Like
it's the Donna Reed look. It suits you well. So it does.
Well, thank you, kind sir. The fact that you don't ever change clothes is really annoying. But anyway, I love that we covered this because it's so fascinating to me, especially before I feel like people were set up from a public relations standpoint to handle things like this happening. And I feel like the news was not as suppressed or guided by political or monetary situations where it was literally basing it on selling papers because that was back then. Now it's all about advertisers versus papers. But back when it was about selling papers, man, they would post some shit, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, 1952, just in the first 6 months, there were over 300 unexplained UFO sightings, which is four times the number of 1951. And by the end of July, there was another 400, more than any other year in history. So something was going on.
Yeah. And now that makes sense with the bomb thing, because I didn't even think about that. But I think I could see, somebody going, oh, they're not a threat, whatever, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's like, they actually, this is a problem, right? Like, So no, it's okay. Bizarre. I love this journey. This has been a fun episode.
Yay. So thank you all for joining us as always. Thanks to our Patreon members for keeping the show on the road. If you'd like to join, patreon.com. We got the links in the bio, and we'd love for y'all to just drop us a couple bucks. It makes all the difference in the world, so we can go on more travels and more journeys. Visit eerietravels.com. And that's got all the links to our social medias and all that. So even just like, sharing, and subscribing. If you can't do that, couple bucks, invite a friend. We'd love to expand a little bigger than we are because we've got a lot coming. And then visit us there, and you can also see where we're going to be. So you can join us, and maybe join us at North Carolina Bigfoot Adventures, or join us at some of our other appearances. We got Squonk-a-Palooza coming very quickly.
I was going to say, the Squonk is such a absolutely fun cryptid to get to know, and we're going to do an episode on the Squonk shortly. So come up to Squonk. They kind of party like rock stars. We're going to be up there with our friends Cryptids of the Corn, so that'll be exciting. So we're
going to be talking unusual monsters of Pennsylvania. So
so you get to see me and Mark do this live and see that we absolutely do not pre-plan a single thing.
Well, I gotta say things that'll shock you and also entertain the audience. So that's the whole point.
That's true. You do keep me on my toes, my friend. And with that, I'm gonna let you take this away.
All right, gang. So travelers, when you're out there at night, keep watching the skies and watch out for strange aerial inversions that might just be weather phenomena. But if you see a comet without a tail or a falling star doing a strange maneuver, if you get a chance, take a picture. If nothing else, try to report it to somebody. And if you get visited by a man in black afterwards, tell them we said hi, and we'll see you on the other side.